Hello, this is my electricity slash farming tutorial for the new farming update in Rust. Uh, Enjoy. So let's get started. Um, I have 3 wind generators, and they put out about 300 power on a good day. The power does fluctuate, but we have a way of dealing with the way it fluctuates down at the bottom. We'll get there in a sec. But of course, everyone knows you need to root combine your power into a single root combiner, or not. You do you, but this is how I do mine. So everything gets root combined into a single root combiner, and that is going to start where we get our power. So down here at the bottom of this huge tower, I have the root combiners going through all of these lights and passing through all the way down to the bottom. You don't have to do that, but you will have to get your power to an E branch so you can start routing it to all your different buildings. And that's pretty much what I have here. This E branch sends power to my house. This second one sends it to my landing pad slash garden. And this third one sends it to my heli tower for killing the heli, and my storage facility for my goods, my stuff, my loot. And let me explain how this all works. So let's see what kind of power we're dealing with. 14 power goes to my house. 93 power goes to my garden and landing pad. And 67 power goes to my storage facility and my heli tower. And at the end, the remaining power goes to this splitter. This splitter puts half power to this battery and the other half to this battery. And these are how we deal with the fluctuating power from the wind generators. So 93 power will come from this branch into this one. From this one I route 91 power to this OR switch. This E branch will take 1 power, so we have 1 left over to this blocker. So if the power ever fluctuates so that we don't get exactly 93 power off of this one, then there's not enough power to be sent to this E branch, and it will allow power to go through into this OR switch. And because large batteries put out 100 power, that will take precedence over whatever is coming out of the wind power. So everything will start running off the battery. The same thing with this one, but it's 67, and we have 65 routed to the OR switch and 1 to the branch. If 67 power does not make it here, same thing, the blocker shuts off, everything runs off the battery. So we never run out of power. These batteries always stay pretty much 100%. The wind hardly ever dies, but it does every once in a while, so I have these just in case. So what we're here for, the farming here. So this is how I got my electricity, but this 93 power to this OR switch goes down over here and then there, and I think it goes over here. Yeah, through my house to this E branch, and this is just to keep the power extended. I have it all the way over here, and this is where it gets split between my landing pad and the garden. But before we get to the garden, I just want to quickly explain these water catchers. Gravity kind of makes all the water from this water catcher go to this one, that one, to this one, that one, to this one, that one, to this one. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 large water catchers. And from there goes to the garden. And I think the large water catchers is this one, this pump. So we'll call this pump B. And the ones on the roof, they all use gravity as well. And they funnel into pump. Alright, they don't funnel into the pump. They funnel into this water barrel, and from this water barrel into pump A. So I like to have a water barrel that I can access that's pretty much always full of water in case I need to use containers to manually water. I barely do anymore, but sometimes I like splash something if it gets a little out of sync. I usually just use these because they have different amounts that you can dump on the crops. So see how they're like just slightly different by like 100. It happens, but not a big deal. You just fix that with the tools. But yeah, so all the water goes into these, goes into this, and then into these pumps. And you want to purposely put the pumps lower than the sprinklers, because you want the pumps to be activated with electricity rather than being turned on. So speaking of electricity, we have the wind generator sending power all the way down to here, and we're left with 77 power, which is just enough to run everything in here. I try to keep it so I'm never wasting power. This E branch sends enough power for all the lights so that they're always on. You could put a switch here if you want, but I just have them on all the time. And then the rest goes to a battery on the roof. And it's important that you have a battery on the roof because you need solid power that never flickers. If it flickers, then these timers will shut off. So if you're ever planning on using like solar panels to power this during the day and then switch to a battery at night, that the act of switching to the battery will screw up the timers. So you kind of need to run it off of a battery, like all the time. So I have the battery plugged right into this switch, which turns the whole system on. And then from the switch, we can get into the nitty gritty. So from the master on switch, we have power going into this E branch. This E branch goes into a chain, which makes sure that everything that needs to be on is on. These blockers need to be on all the time whenever we're running the timers. So I have them on all the time. We can turn this switch on, which gives power to these timers, and when you activate a timer, it will block power. So let's just say here, I've blocked power to this blocker. So when the timer's finished, it'll stop blocking power, and then power will get sent through, and it'll trigger the second timer. And then while that timer's on, this is the water timer. So it will send power to this E branch, which will send power to this OR switch, as well as this blocker. And then once the timer's finished, it'll send a signal to this timer, and it just goes back and forth forever. The difference between this one and this one is just dead air. it will just run, and then once it's finished, it'll turn this timer on. But this one's the one that will actually start water coming through. So that's why we have the E branch. So the E branch will send power to this OR switch, as well as that blocker, and this OR switch, just like this one, which is manually watering, will send power to this, or I guess they'll both go into the OR switch, and then this OR switch goes into this E branch, which sends power to both of these pumps. So this timer and this switch are the things that can send water. This is dead air, so your delay before water actually goes through. And the beautiful thing about this system is you can change it to whatever you need. So I have 60 seconds of water on and 660 seconds of water off. And then if I ever need to manually water, I can just flick that switch and everything's good. And then whenever I'm finished gardening, I just shut the whole system off. And then that battery starts charging again, because batteries can't be charged and used at the same time. So you always gotta remember to turn your sprinkler system off when you're not using it. I hope this made sense. This is like my 100th time recording it, just so I could make it crystal clear. But ask me any questions in the comment section, and I'll try to answer to make it a little more clear. But yeah, this is my system. I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.
Hodor! Hodor!